All right, tough news for Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs today as track star wide receiver Arian Smith goes down. He's going to have ankle surgery. That was confirmed to us, reported by a number of different outlets this morning. We confirmed it a few hours ago. And this is a big loss. We expect him to miss an extended amount of time. I mean, it's ankle surgery, so dude's going to be out for a while. Not sure if he's going to be able to come back towards the end of the season. But the medical staff at Georgia is one of the best in college football. They're going to do everything they can to get him squared away, get him back on the field. But just really tough for Arian. This is a guy who had his season ended last year, I believe a broken leg, if I remember correctly, who was coming on strong. He had a big touchdown early in the game against UAB. He had a great touchdown reception against Missouri. Things were kind of looking towards in the right direction, right? He came to Georgia as a track star, one of the fastest prospects that they signed in the 2020 class. High expectations for him. And when he is healthy, when he's been able to see the field, he knows how to stretch a defense, and we've seen it. He's caught 5 passes for, I think, 188 yards and 3 touchdowns. So when he makes a catch, big things happen. He had a big touchdown reception. I think his first catch of his career was 2 years ago against South Carolina. He had a big 50-yard reception against Cincinnati in the Peach Bowl. But he still had some injuries he was battling as a freshman last year. Again, a touchdown against UAB, touchdown against Missouri, and I think he had one other catch last season. So when he makes a catch, it's a big deal because good things happen because he's really, really fast. So they're missing a lot. This is a big miss, but it's also not because he's barely played. And they have other guys who have been able to stay a little healthier, or a lot healthier. And we've talked about the wide receiver room before. It is, I think, better than people think. But he was going to be a big deal this year. He was expected to have a breakout year. This would be his 3rd year in the program, battling injuries. He was healthy this summer, and he was healthy up until, I guess, yesterday when he got hurt. So this is tough, not only for the Georgia offense, but mainly for Arian Smith, who has just battled and battled and battled and done his best to get back on the field. And he was hoping for a giant season this year. Finally healthy. Oregon game, season over is just 3 weeks away. Really, really tough news. But I don't expect Georgia to miss a beat. Obviously, he's one of the fastest guys on the roster, maybe the fastest guy on the roster. So that's a weapon that they're not going to have, but they still have plenty of weapons. Kyrus Jackson is a guy who could fill that role. I think he was higher on the depth chart anyway, but he's a guy who can stretch the defense vertically. He's great in the screen game. Obviously, A.D. Mitchell is a big-time vertical threat. We saw what he did against Alabama. Ladd McConkey, he beat Auburn deep and multiple times, one for a long touchdown. So they still have guys who can take the top off of defense and make big catches down the field. A lot of that is scheme. Todd Monken knows how to get these guys open down the field. But when Arian Smith was out there, he was wide open. I mean, Stetson Bennett didn't have to drop back a whole lot, but he just had to chuck it deep. Arian Smith was going to be there. So he's a guy where he didn't need the offensive line to do a great job for him to have enough time to throw down the field to Arian Smith, because he was already down there in just a few seconds. So they didn't really have a guy like him on the roster. CJ Smith is an incoming freshman who has that type of speed, I think. But again, he's the first-year guy. I don't expect him to make quite the impact this year at all. But they're looking for speed, and they had it with Arian Smith. Now they don't. He's definitely going to miss most of the season, I think. We'll see if he gets to come back later in the year. We saw George Pickens come back towards the end of the last year and have somewhat of an impact. Big catch in the SEC championship game and a big catch in the national championship game, obviously. So I wouldn't rule his season out completely, but major setback for Brian McClendon and the receiving core. Again, this is not a starter, and this is not a guy who is going to catch a bunch of passes, go for 1,000 yards. Again, there's plenty of weapons on offense, but it's nice to have his speed. Especially because it does open up things for the rest of the guys on the field. If he's running a vertical route, defenses have to know where he is. If he's behind a defensive back and needs a safety to come over to help, then that leaves the field open for other guys. So his speed definitely helps everyone else. I'm sure there was a package for him. You know that there were specific plays where they're calling and say, hey, the ball is going to Arian Smith deep. We have to get this guy's opportunities to catch the ball downfield, because again, when you go to him, good things have happened so far. Just 5 catches, but 3 touchdowns, 188 yards. He's a big-time player, a big-time weapon, and Georgia has stayed healthy for the most part in fall camp. This is the first big injury that I think they've had that could impact them. And again, it's not going to be that much of an impact. There's just 3 plays or 4 plays that they don't get to run during the game, but those plays could go to someone else. But he was a big weapon for this offense, and one that we've talked about all season long as a guy who could take the top off of defense. He's great after turnovers. Georgia likes to strike deep. That's what they did against Ladd McConkey. Auburn turned it over. First play, boom, chucking it deep around midfield for a big score, and that's what he brought to the table for this offense. So there's still plenty of guys. I think Don Blaylock, if he's healthy, is going to have a really, really nice year. Marcus Rosemy-Jack Saint, we know what he can do blocking on the edge, but he wants to catch some passes too. This might be an opportunity for him. Even though they don't play the same wide receiver position, it's another hole that's kind of opened up and an opportunity for someone else to step in. So a lot of guys looking for the ball, a lot of talented receivers on the roster. Arian Smith was one of them, and now he will not be participating anytime soon. So big loss, no doubt about it. Hopefully the Dogs can stay healthy. They've got a scrimmage tomorrow on Saturday. So if they can just stay healthy and not have any more major injuries going into the Oregon game, I think this is going to be a pretty healthy team to start the season, which is exactly what they're looking for. But Arian Smith, 6'1", 180 pounds now, finally was able to put a little bit of muscle on. But he had track star speed, not only one of the fastest players on the roster, but you could argue one of the fastest players in the SEC and possibly in the country as well. He was a top 100 player out of high school for a reason. Started to become more of a receiver instead of a straight line, vertical, speed threat. Was learning how to run, little ins and outs, becoming more of a route runner during his time in Georgia. But got to stay healthy, got to stay on the field. I'm not sure how he's going to be able to come back from this. It's going to take a lot of physical ability, but a lot of this is mental too. When you get hurt over and over and over again, it seems like, and you just can't stay healthy enough to see the field and be that guy that you were in high school and what people like me thought he could be at this level. That has to stick with you mentally, probably more than physically. So hopefully he can come back strong from this. Hopefully we can possibly see him towards the end of the year or maybe some next year. I don't think his career is completely over, but just another hurdle, another obstacle that Arian Smith has to jump through. And he's such a fun player to watch. He's so explosive. So this is a tough loss, I think, for everyone. But the young man has gone through a lot, was really hoping he could come out and have a giant season. And again, his 3rd year in the program, he's itching. He's been ready to go out there and be healthy and help this team and contribute. And unfortunately, he's not going to be able to do that for another hot minute. But bad news all the way around for Georgia today. Not the end of the world, but your fastest receiver is down, now has to have ankle surgery. So not ideal with a few weeks heading into the start of the season. But for the latest on Arian Smith and so much more, make sure you are over on Dog Post. We got lots of final recruiting updates coming before the season. Of course, we're trying to keep you up to date with practice updates. We've got Ryan Curley out there watching practice. So make sure to stay over to Dog Post for all practice updates and hopefully some scrimmage notes tomorrow. So guys, thanks for watching this video. As always, stay tuned to the next one coming up right now, and I'll see you over on Dog Post.